guys ready? You better be ready, because it's almost showtime. Come on. Let's do this. Justin, what's going on? Welcome to the One Up Weekly Live. Yeah. Hey guys, what's going on? So tonight we wanted to talk about some interesting topics that we've been wanting to cover for a while because, you know, gaming is pretty exciting. We live in a really interesting time where retro gaming is on fire and people are bringing it in many different formats. And so Ralph and I have been wanting to talk about the idea of playing retro gaming on a console. Is that right, Ralph?
Yeah, I know. I can't believe it. So it's crazy. So I'll tell you one thing real quick. Is like someone asked me the other day. They said, "Do you play on a console at all?" And I said, "Oh no." They said, "Do I play on the Nintendo Switch?" And I said, "Yeah, actually, I do. When Kim falls asleep, I'll play the Nintendo Switch in bed." And sometimes I'll just poke.
TMI, man. TMI.
Well, no, but I mean, she's sleeping and she has to get up early, so I will use it. But the reason why I choose the Switch is because it has a lot of really cool retro games, and then we're seeing like these independent companies making games.
That's right.
And then you're also seeing like re-releases of games that are limited in scope, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's really crazy because like in our thumbnail we talk about the Space Invaders collection. That this is one that came out like in March, but in Japan. And if you go look on eBay, this is kind of exciting. After the show, if you haven't seen it, go check out eBay. This thing's going for like hundreds of dollars, right? So there's obviously a big group of people that are huge Space Invaders fans, and that's why it's being brought on a limited run here to the US. And so that's going to be available. When's the date? I think it's coming out soon.
Yeah, I think it's pretty soon. I don't have it in front of me right now, but it's coming out pretty soon.
When we talked about like Arcade 1-Up, you know, we talk about that a lot. I think, in my opinion, Space Invaders is probably one of their lowest selling cabinets. You know, they probably had their own limited run on it, but we know there's a lot of people that are super excited about that game, and those are probably the same type of people that like collecting the physical games. What do you think, Ralph?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I want to talk about tonight, because it's like I'm kind of in the middle, right? I am buying some of these sometimes because, you know, for instance, when Streets of Rage 4 came out, I went and bought. I was sending out messages on my YouTube, "Hey, check it out. They're having a limited run games release of it." And they made a whole bunch of different ones. Like if you were a hardcore collector, they had a collector's version that was way expensive.
That's right.
The only problem with those that happens, Justin, is like they'll release them, but sometimes those things don't come out for way later after the digital release. So what I find myself is I buy both.
Yeah,
I end up buying both.
Yeah. Or you're an idiot like me and you buy it 3 times because you forgot you already bought the digital version because you're not good at keeping track of it, but you know you have the physical one and you see a discount and you're like, "Oh, I should grab the digital." And that's why, you know, I probably want to look into it more, but I used to use the website pricecharting.com. It's a pretty nice website. Go check it out if you haven't heard of it. It's really good if you're collecting the old vintage games like the Nintendo, Sega, because you can go in there and say, "This is what I have, this is what I don't have." And that's the thing. If you own tons of the physical copies, you don't have time to play these games. So actually knowing, I don't know, for me, by heart, which ones I've bought, it's hard to keep track.
So before we talk about them further, I do want to ask you a question, though. I want to know, because I know where I stand on it, but I actually don't know where you stand on it. So, okay, obviously when we're talking about things like this, like limited releases, physical copies, do you consider yourself a collector when it comes to physical copies, or are you just like, I'm good with the digital, and you've kind of modernized your thought process, and you're like, nah, don't need the physical? Like, where do you stand? Because you're the same age as me pretty much, so you grew up with physical, right? So
I'm not there yet. I'll give you a quick example. So last year, I was collecting movies, right? And I wanted to get like Blu-ray copies of like Marvel movies and Star Wars movies. But then I was like, oh wait, no, I need to get the 4K version of the Star Wars movies and the Blu-ray.
So wait, you're telling me you still collect movies?
I was, you know, and
like,
then
you like legitimately have been, because I didn't know this. You've been collecting movies, like
movies
that
current. I absolutely love. Yes.
Oh, okay. And what's the format? Is it Blu-ray or do you
it's been Blu-ray,
DVD?
and I hadn't made the transition. But then when I was hearing about Disney Plus and how Disney Plus was going to come out with 4K UHD content streaming, I was like, that's when I was like, okay, I'm actually not gonna start buying the disc because I'm just gonna pay $7 a month, you know? And so I'm there on the streaming. I think I've made the transition.
Okay, so that's
But
interesting
I'm but
because
I'm
all
not
right.
there for gaming. Like I own like 2 digital Switch games, but all the other Switch games are physical. Like I hunt out for the physical and I get upset
Okay.
when it's
Hmm.
only available in digital. That's
All
where I'm
right.
at.
So all right. So I'm gonna recap. So you've been collecting movies. You were doing that for a while, but when you realize there's now 4K streaming service, you're kind of done with that. But you
That's right.
haven't made the switch on games yet. You're still
That's right.
doing
Well,
physical
it's
on game.
like the example is every movie that I wanted to get in a 4K HDR format in physical disc was $30 each. Or you could just
Yeah, it
pay
can add up.
$7 a month
Yeah.
and get all those. So
So I'll admit this since we're on movies before we go to games. I went and we haven't had this conversation actually yet, so it's interesting.
mhm,
When Ultra DVD came out,
mhm.
obviously when you buy anything that's like a technology thing like a TV, you're like, "Oh, it's, it was 1080p or now it's 4K."
Right.
The problem is like now you got to feed it 4K content. So I remember
Right.
when I got my first 4K TV, I was like, oh, I need an Ultra DVD player because there was no way to stream 4K really,
Mm.
or at least that looked good yet, right? So I was like, that's what I went and did. But then it quickly died out. Like the 4K DVD player, the Ultra DVD player is like in a closet somewhere. I actually don't even know where it is because now
Right.
the streaming services have kind of like caught up.
That's right.
So
It's
I
cool
don't
that
know.
they
I'm
caught
like,
up pretty quickly.
yeah,
I mean, and we talked about this on the phone earlier today. That's an interesting thing about iArcade. So iArcade is actually going to this digital route. But really all arcades, these miniature 3/4 scales, they have to, right? Like you look at
well,
Arcade
yeah,
One
you're not
Up.
going to be like, hey, here's your arcade and here's a stack of PCBs. Which one do you want to play? Like
That's
you
right.
can't do it.
And it's weird. A lot of us on the Arcade One Up side have collected many of the arcades, and so that's kind of like getting the physical version, maybe, if you will. But
Yeah, if you
then,
want to like relate it to arcades, yeah, I guess so.
right, if you're interested in Act Games and their, ArcadeNet, the ability to buy and subscribe, that's kind of like a digital download service. And
Yeah.
then, for sure, the iArcade, which we both backed, by the way, if you didn't know, that came out on Tuesday, and we both bought into that. Hope, and it looks like they met their goal. So congrats, iArcade. But those are buying that, and the fact that you can buy the games for like, $2, $3 or $15. Those are kind of digital downloads,
Yeah,
and
I consider that. Yeah, that's
I think that's
DLC.
okay because there's no other option. Like you can't buy a physical version of an arcade game in the retro home arcade space.
Yeah, I mean, I actually like the idea, and I would love to know. I know we're kind of like talking about console games, and then we kind of shifted a bit to arcades. But I am curious. Like, I know I think it's cool. I do think it's cool that if you gave me a device that sat on my countertop or even a full size arcade, and you gave me the ability to a la carte the games I want, the and granted, we have ways of getting the games all over the place, but
Yeah.
I think the idea of the convenience of that is kind of similar to how I felt with digital music. Like digital music became so easily accessible that I didn't really care about going to find to hunt it down because I was like, oh, I can get a high quality copy by just hitting this button.
Right.
So I do think from in an arcade perspective, that's pretty cool. Like it's pretty neat to be able to go up and go, hey, I really want Punisher, providing it's
Mhm.
licensed, they have a licensed copy. I really want
Mhm.
Punisher. Bam, done. Like that's pretty cool. And like 2 minutes later, I'm playing Punisher. I think a lot of people, I don't know, it's kind of weird, but don't you think that we don't have as much time nowadays too? So it's like,
Well,
if
yeah, like
you're rushing to do that activity between other activities sometimes,
that's right. So Chef Dave mentioned this, you can scan your DVDs, and I went into that. I think one of the best apps out there for being able to play or watch your movies um that you've ripped is
Oh, this is actually really
Plex.
cool. It's like, isn't this the thing where like you buy a DVD and it has the little thing in there and you get a
Oh,
digital copy? Is that what he's talking
I'm
about?
not talking about that. I'm talking about you actually like rip or some people like, pirate the movies or whatever. But there's a service called Plex. You can go to plex.tv. I've been using it since I think it's 2008 or so. I have
Okay.
a lifetime subscription with their service. I like them so much. 2 years ago, I was like almost applying for a job because they do remote
Ooh.
development and they're in the industry that I'm in.
Yeah.
Like the technology they're doing is really, really cool. The ability for you to be able to, rip your own movies and have your own like basically Netflix experience. they handle all the metadata, right? So
Yeah,
it
but I
will
don't know that I understand
identify.
what Chef Dave's talking about. So you can scan your DVDs, and the app will. Where does it get the digital copy
Yeah,
from?
I think he's talking about digital copies actually. So
Oh, okay, the
scan.
thing I was talking about. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
that's
I
pretty
guess.
cool.
Yeah. So I have transitioned to. I still use Plex. I actually bought a Synology. We talked about that.
Yeah,
So
Snuffleupagus. Yep.
so it was, it was the what is it? As a 4 terabyte is what I ended up getting. Network attached storage. And I also got the home run. So this is the idea of being able
Yeah,
to
the HD home run.
stream. Yeah, the HD home run, to be able to stream local channels and DVR them locally. It's pretty expensive, but then you don't pay. Like I basically cut the cord and only have like Netflix, Disney Plus, and then all the locals are just over the air. And that's right.
Sorry. Stringer Films always has these like amazing just the comments that he just throws in there. No, actually, Chef Dave did. He kind of verified what he's talking about. Said no, the app is called Voodoo. I think you can scan your DVDs to the app if you own it. Oh, that's actually really cool.
Yeah, I used to. I
Neat.
have a
I
collection
don't
of
know
that.
about that.
I used Movies Anywhere. I think Disney owns it. In fact, at some point they bought it or something. But I used to work for a company called Lionsgate, which is a big movie
Oh
company.
yeah.
And they would send me like they sent everyone in the company like anytime their movies came out, they gave you a code. And it was like, here you go. And you would go to like Movies Anywhere or Vudu, either one. You put in the code, and what was cool about it is then it would then show up like on my Apple TV.
That's
Like
pretty cool.
like I would actually register it, and it would like show up in iTunes.
That's
And
pretty neat.
yeah, and so that's like totally a way to go. Like now you're owning the movie digitally, right?
Yeah, that's neat. I like that. I mean, yeah. So just like getting back to gaming, I think it's weird because I'm sort of this weird. And actually, it'd be fun to know. I think it'd be cool while we get into it, like in the chat, to say, put a 1 in the chat if you're
Mhm.
still into physical copies when it comes to consoles, and then put a 0 if you don't care. I just think, did I do that wrong?
Yeah, you're good. That's perfect.
Okay. Yeah. So put a 1 if you're into physical copies. You hope that those still stay around. Because so I'm in this weird like hybrid mode where
Mm.
I think a lot of us, we might have gone in and out of revisiting consoles. Like I
Yep.
started getting way heavy back into arcades, and then kind of like, it was kind of, Justin, you mentioned this when all the minis started coming out. I
Yeah.
started like trying to acquire all my old stuff. It was like, oh, I still have a Sega Genesis.
Absolutely.
I still have a CDX. Then I was actually upset, Justin, because I went home. I went back east to see my mom, and I was like, I'm going in my mom's basement, and I
Right.
know I'll be able to find all of my Genesis carts. I
Right.
thought for sure I knew where they were. No.
Oh, honey,
I
I threw those away a long
Yep.
time ago.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
all got tossed, which really sucks. So now I was in
Totally.
this mode where I'm like, I didn't, this is years ago, but I didn't realize how like the market could dictate the cost of something because someone considers it rare, and
Yeah.
then like,
Absolutely.
holy crap, a game that would have normally been like 10 years ago, like $10 is going to cost you $60 for a single game. So it's kind of a bummer, man. Like I got a little bit bummed out by that.
So I used to, when I was talking about price charting, I used to use that website, and for free you could get, I think it was Nintendo and Super Nintendo, maybe Sega. It will give you all the facts and analysis of what the price of every game is, and it's a pretty good.
And it shows you like the chart over time too, right?
That's
Like,
right.
It'll say
That's right.
like last year it might have been cheaper, and now all of a sudden and you don't really know why, but because it doesn't tell you why the price jumped, right? It just says that the price jumped. Or
Yeah,
does it?
well, it basically does tell you why, because it shows that it's pulling the information from eBay sales, and then they
Oh,
have
okay.
their own store as well. The guy who owns it, I'm not. He may have shut down his store. I remember he was sending emails that he had a store in Denver.
Okay.
But I think he still does price charting, and I remember going to several game stores and
I think I know what
trading
store you're
in
talking
games.
about because I think it's still in Denver. I've visited it before, and I can't remember the name. I follow it on Instagram. If I can remember, I'll bring it up. But
Yeah, so the thing with that, I would follow that, and so I would figure out, okay, there's these games on eBay that I would pick up. I think I purchased probably 200 games through price charting / eBay
okay.
over the course of like 3 years or so, and I was always looking for a deal. It was kind of fun. It's like this little every day I would hunt.
Yeah.
And so price charting would say, okay, here's this game. I remember Wheel of Fortune was like $3. It's like you sort it up. It's the cheapest game. It's like the worst game ever, and they made 1 million of them.
By the way, can I tell you something real quick?
Yeah.
During quarantine, Kim and I got wicked into Wheel of Fortune on the Xbox One. Like it's kind of
Is it
cheesy.
good?
Well,
on the Xbox One, do they like update it or make it more relevant or something? Or
yeah, no, the titles, like everything is very current. The problem is, it's like the animations are really bad. Like, who's the host of that show? Is it Pat
Sajak?
Sajak. So Pat will say the same stuff, and I'm like, dude, this is a game made in 2019-ish.
Right.
Like he could have. He's like,
come on,
hey.
right?
He's like, I don't know how you got that one, but he says it every time, and you're like, you couldn't have put in like a couple more like quotes that he said or something, and you can like buy clothes for Vanna White, and like you can pick different cars as you progress through the game. You can change your clothes. It's okay. I mean, we played it online one time. I'll tell you a 2-second 2-second story. But Kim and I were getting really cocky because we were getting really good at Wheel of Fortune on the Xbox One. And we're like, let's play online. And we got our asses handed to us. Whoever was playing was like, they've been watching Wheel of Fortune for the past like 30 years. But anyways, I digress.
Yeah. So someone had a question about the price charting. What's really cool, you really should check it out if you're interested into it. It actually shows like, okay, so you want to get, whatever, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I remember for a long time, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out was like $15, and that was loose, right? Assuming the sticker is good, but it would show like condition, fair, good. It's kind of like buying a car or something. It shows the different conditions, and then it'd be like, does it come with a sleeve? Does it come in a box? Does it come with a manual? Is it new in box?
Yeah.
Is it complete in box? And so all those prices were different. And so for me, what was really expensive was the complete in box. So I don't have a lot of those. I have a lot of loose cards.
Did you ever seek out complete in box for anything? Like, were you like, this has to be complete?
Yeah,
or were you not
I did.
Really...
I did Mario 1, 2, and 3,
nice.
complete in box.
That's cool.
And I think I would still want to get Mike Tyson. I don't have that yet. And you should get football, dude. Remember the game? It's the stupidest game for Nintendo. It's called Football, but it's like $8 complete in box. It's like, just get it, right? And you'll have a complete box of something.
Well,
and they made a ton of them, but it actually has a kind of cool cover on it.
You know what system? When I started getting back into it, I was thinking about like what systems, because NES is crazy, right? There's so many NES games. So I was thinking
750.
Yeah, that's not. No, it's more than that, isn't it?
754, I think, is the roundabout. There is the official licensed game of NES.
Official licensed Nintendo games.
But even more, like, so. Oh, I should tell you this. I know you want to get to your story.
I'm never gonna remember what I was gonna say if we go down this path.
Okay, go. I'll remember. Go ahead.
Okay. So I was trying to figure out like when I got back into collecting a bit, or at least I thought I was like, what system could I possibly maybe get 100% of? And the only one that came to mind was like, I could probably get a Sega 32X collection complete,
right?
Because there weren't a lot of games.
That's right.
And I think a lot of people like dumped them out into the market because it wasn't like a wicked popular system. But then I was like, is anybody really going to care if I have a complete 32X color? I don't know. I like the 32X.
I like that idea. The idea of like trying to complete a set of something. So what I was trying to complete a set of was Tengen. Do you remember Tengen? So they were it was
Tengen, you mean like the Tetris, like the Russian Tetris and the American? Yeah.
Tengen. It was really Atari behind the scenes, and they totally like,
I don't know a lot about it, but yeah.
Real quick, basically it's Atari under the hood, and they did this really cool, clever trick. Like it's way cooler than my ripping off Target and Walmart scam. What they did was they entered a lawsuit with Nintendo, which forced them to give to the court like documentation of how their security chip works, and they used
that's right, because they have a lot. Did they do the lockout thing?
Yes.
Yeah, they did the lockout chip. I read a lot about that back in the day.
They created their own lockout chip for their own games so they could get around the Nintendo license fee, right?
Well, wasn't there also that weird thing? Wasn't there also that wicked weird? Oh, dude, Angry Video Game Nerd did a video on it. It's like this platform with the crappiest games, and it's like you stick the cart into another cart, and it's supposed to be like an enhanced NES experience, but it's total like it's the worst games ever. I can't remember what that thing's called.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I think I have like I don't know, 17 of the Tengen games. I'm missing a few.
Pretty good. Not complete though.
Not complete. I and they're just loose. but you can get them. Like you can. I think the Tetris was the expensive one, and I don't think I have Tetris.
Yeah. Hey, if we have time, let's parking lot this item because I would like to talk about
Parking
it if you
lot.
think
That's
it's okay.
totally a work thing, right?
Yeah, yeah. So there's this someone Josh asked about the portable golden tee that's $2,000. Maybe if we have time at the end, we could just stick that in there because I think it's
Yeah.
actually kind of cool. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but yeah, Josh, it's crazy expensive, but
Yeah.
very cool.
Getting back to the original topic, I think what I haven't done is been collecting retro games on modern consoles, like the thumbnail, like this video is talking about. Where I did get the Mega Man X for Switch, which is like a retro, what would you call it, franchise? And that game rocks. That game was absolutely awesome. Like, I'm sorry,
I didn't play it. Yeah,
I played it on the super easy mode, which like anytime you fall, this like little bird grabs you and puts you back on the platform. But hey, I was able to beat it in a short amount of time, and then I was
Can I
done.
ask you something, Justin? And I know we could be ridiculed for this. I'm gonna fall on the sword first. So if I fall on the sword and I get ridiculed first, you can either decide if the chat like starts really beating me up, then you can just take a different position that maybe is not the one you would have taken. But I will admit that
Where are
I
you
as
going
a
with
kid,
this?
I as a kid thought I was awesome at video games. Like I thought I was so good. And I think I was like sometimes you can't remember exactly, but I feel like I beat a lot of games, which was like, when you bought it, you beat it and that you felt good about beating it. But as an adult, I feel like when I'm playing either like the same games I used to play or newer ones, I feel like I'm always playing it on like easy. I feel like I really suck at video games now. Like, do you play games on the easier modes or do you like, I definitely don't go beyond normal.
I don't care what the chat's going to say, but that's how I am. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I don't know why. I feel like I
play
used to
on
be
easy.
so good.
It's because, well, yeah, it's also because we have families, we have lives, we have jobs, and so we want to sit down to play. Yeah, trying to play a game that's like nearly impossible to beat I just don't have time for it, right?
Yeah,
and so
yeah, actually,
I know. What do you guys think? Do you guys play do you play games on easy or hard? Come on, just say easy or hard. Which one did you go for?
I mean, I'll at least say this. I'm usually like normal and below. Like I'm definitely not. I start at normal, but if I'm getting my butt kicked, I'll go down. But
Sure.
I don't know. Like,
sure.
Yeah. But anyways,
Yeah.
So Matt put in the chat, Metal Slug Double X is coming out for PS4 limited run. That's actually one of the things we were going to talk about.
That's right.
Because it has an interesting history that I didn't actually, and I'm really bummed because I view myself as definitely a Metal Slug fan, but I never played Metal Slug 7 on the Nintendo DS. And so, and I wasn't really aware that Double X was like a remastered version with a lot more features that came out. And it's actually still it's on Xbox One. And I think it's on, I'm looking at my notes here. I can't remember. It's on another platform too, right? It came out on the PlayStation Portable. It's on Xbox One and it's on Steam. So I want to go back and play it, but being a fan, it's like, this is a weird one for me because I love the game, but I didn't play it. So like, maybe I won't go play it and I'll order the physical one and then wait for it to come and it'll be like a fun experience for me. You know what I mean? Because I didn't play the Nintendo DS version.
Yeah, that's what I'm excited about with the Metal Slug games, because there's an article on Nintendo Life that was talking about not only there's the new PS4 Metal Slug Double X or XX, whatever it's called.
But then there's like the new Metal Slug game that's going to come out, right?
Yeah, right.
Sometime this year, yeah.
So really excited, and for Switch, right? And so that's the thing. That's what I'm really liking about the Switch is because, like you were saying, the laying in bed, playing. It is really cool to play because, dude, think about it. It's like if you're playing the retro video games on a Switch, what am I doing? I'm selling everyone a Switch. Probably everyone owns a Switch, right? They sold.
Yeah.
It's like the
for sure. If they don't own
console.
a Switch, then they have kids that they bought a Switch for, and they use it sometimes.
That's right. But like, it's so cool because if you play retro games on it, right, it's like you have a Game Boy and a Super Nintendo at the same time, right? I mean, I just stated the obvious, but I still think it's really cool. So picking up some of these other retro games and playing it on that, I mean, it's probably way better than playing it on any hacked portable Raspberry Pi Zero system.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And the cool thing is, like, it seems like the over the years that since the Switch has been released, it's become this like awesome creative ground for indie developers. So there's a lot of like really cool games that come out that are like retro inspired, right? They're not retro games, but they have like an 8-bit or a 16-bit vibe to it. They even mastered the music to sound like it's 8-bit or 16-bit. So I find myself checking some of those out, and those are usually super cheap. They're like $2 or $3 or sometimes $5 at max, or 10 maybe. So like, I don't know. I just feel like the Switch is like this really cool platform for retro gaming. And there's retro games on all the platforms. There's a lot stuff on Xbox One. There's some stuff on PS4 too, but I just find it really fun. I don't know. The Switch has just been that, maybe because of the portability and we're older. So like someone falls asleep and you're like, hey, I'm going to play a couple games. You know what I mean? It's going to be easy. So I don't know. I just think that's been my experience.
I will tell you something really cool about the Switch.
Hobby Hands thinks he's such disdain in your voice for RetroPie.
No, I'm just saying, like, think of the horsepower
on RetroPie.
No, I said RetroPie 0. Okay, so
yeah,
no,
that's true.
Yeah, well, just think of the horsepower between the Switch and RetroPie 0, and if you're, playing some basically like a Game Boy, the Switch is better, but the Switch is also $300, right? And like really hard to find now. So,
by the way, the one I play in my bed is the Switch Lite. I don't have
one. I've been thinking about getting one, but
I like it. It's awesome. It's a little bit smaller, and I have a Switch and a Switch Lite. And so like the Switch kind of just stays connected here if I'm going to stream a game that's on Switch, and the Lite is just kind of like when we're chilling around,
Yeah, Richter Show makes a good point. There's a difference between the Raspberry Pi Zero and the RetroPie, and I have nothing against either one of them. Just to be clear.
well, one's the software and one's the hardware, right?
That's right.
All right. So I forgot. Oh, so
hey, let's go to the parking lot.
Yeah, the parking lot item, because we're coming up on the half an hour. Well, can I just tell you one story that happened yesterday? Because yesterday I didn't have a great day yesterday.
Yeah.
I had a good day until the end of the day. So I have this thing, and I don't have a picture of it, unfortunately. It's like if you guys are
you send me a picture of it. You want me to pop it up?
Yeah, if you can pop it up. But basically, I have this off-road vehicle. It looks like a Jeep. It's like a ripoff of like a Polaris or something like that. And when you're in Arizona and you live in Arizona, everyone does outdoor activity. There's tons of open desert. So I went and bought this thing a couple of years ago. We had a lot of fun with it. The kids, my son loves it. We go out in the desert. It's got 4-wheel drive. You can lock the rear and front differential. Like it's awesome. Like it's really cool for off-roading. But I'm going to sell it. Like I need the money, and I just wanted to get rid of it.
Wait. Let's talk about it for a second. Why do you need the space, or do you need the money?
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily, it would be nice to have the money. It's not like I have to have that, but it's the space. Like Kim has to park her car outside. Although, if I free up the space, I can put some arcades in the garage, if you know what I'm saying. But she doesn't need to know that. But yeah, so
so you're saying this is to feed your addiction, huh?
Whatever. No, there's actually, the funny thing is Kim and I have been putting off buying a new refrigerator because I don't want to take our money out of savings to buy it, and our refrigerator's like on its last leg. And I'm like, when we sell it, we'll buy a new refrigerator. So some of the money is going but that's not why I'm selling it. I just don't want it. Anyways, all right, long story short. Yeah. So this guy comes over to buy it. I post it on OfferUp. Now, this is such a bonehead move. So I back it up out of the driveway. I put it outside. The guy was super cool too, by the way. We bring it outside. It started. I backed it up. I stopped it. He looked around at it. He's like, this is really cool. And then I'm like, you want to take it for a ride? So he goes to start it up. And I guess there was like, the fuel, there's two issues. I don't even want to tell the other one because it's embarrassing, because it's like a 2-part. It got worse, but I'm not going to tell the whole story. But basically, it caught fire. So now I'm sitting outside of my house trying to sell something to a guy, and it caught fire. So my first instinct, super smart, was like, I got to put the fire out. I'll take my bare hands and I'll stomp out the fire. Yeah, well, now I have like burns. My hands are all blistered.
No, I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
So this is it. Can you see it?
Yeah, that's the thing right there. It's pretty cool.
Is it sold now? Did you get it sold?
No. I did clean it up, and it does work, and it's fine.
Just so everybody look at this. let's hear the number. How many arcade cabinets can you fit in this
There's a
spot
lot.
in his
There's a lot.
garage? I think I know where he's going.
Well, so I think I can fit Kim's car in like 3 arcades. So I'm trying to fit all of them. All right, should we quickly talk about the Golden Tee thing?
Yeah,
before
let's
we
talk
wrap
about
up?
Golden Tee. That's great.
All right, so if you want, you can pull up the site. It's just go to, I think if you put Costco and type in Golden Tee, you'll see it. But it's cool, man. Me actually, Rex or so, who's in the chat, he did a video with me on it because I know he's a big Golden Tee fan like me. And so we were really excited when it came out because it's this portable Golden Tee. And at the time, it seemed like it was leaked out. So the data, I was kind of going on, all right, the data is probably not that accurate. Maybe it'll be like a little bit cheaper than what it said. Anyways, it's not. It's super expensive. I mean, the thing is, it appears that it's running their arcade hardware, not like an Android version or anything. So I mean, it actually, these things are super expensive. It's actually almost the size of an actual arcade control panel on like the pedestal ones you'd find at like a local bar or something. It's very well made. It uses a HAP trackball. It has its own HD screen, and then you could hook it up to as big of a screen as you want because it has HDMI out. So it's super expensive at $2,000. Now, the one thing that would like maybe make me get it, if it like, there's two things. If it was online capable and you could play and join the games that other people were playing in bars, like at that time, like it could join the network, that'd be freaking killer.
Yeah.
If it did that and it had Golden Tee and Silver Strike on it, I think I'd figure out how to buy it. I'd end up, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Yeah, see how it says 30 offline Golden Tee courses? Like, that's a wicked bummer, but it does say future updates, but it's definitely not online play, and that would have put it over the top because there is a gigantic community around Golden Tee. There's actually a Golden Tee YouTube channel, and they're constantly streaming at bars and places like it's super cool, but at $2,000, that's just tough. I think they could have figured out maybe a way to make it more budget, but yeah, I think they're trying to hold their ground on their pricing. The problem is the pedestals are like $4 or $5,000, and they can get that all day long. So I think they're like, hey, look at it. It's less than half of our full size pedestals. People will buy this. I think they probably will.
That's right. So how do we tie this? Is this something that you're going to be collecting, Ralph? Is that right?
No, I mean, we didn't. So let's kind of summarize on that. Like, do we collect stuff? I'd say I kind of do, right? But I'm like half in, half out.
Right.
Because it gets really pricey nowadays. Like these limited runs are sometimes like $50. So unless it's a game I absolutely have to have, I usually will do the digital version. But if they were all affordable, I think I'd find myself buying more of them. But it becomes a cost factor at some point, right? You just can't do it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, obviously the expense is always going to be a barrier to a lot of people, including myself. You know, like when I was doing all that collecting, there was a certain point where I just had to stop because I had spent a lot of money. And it was really cool going back to the price charting. That's the downside of it.
It's fun though. It's kind of like
it will
fun
tell you
hobby, right?
Yeah, it's fun. It'll tell you this is how much money you've spent. It's almost like
so
stock.
It logs what you've done. You
because you put in all that information and it'll tell you what your collection is worth, and that fluctuates, right? So that goes up and down, and so now you're kind of like looking at it like stock, but.
So what's funny is someone asked something about modding. Believe it or not, that green thing we saw, I mod stuff like that too. I put an exhaust on it. I put a better stereo. I mod everything.
That's right.
I can't help it. But yeah, I don't know, man. So I guess I'm half and half. But it is fun. Like you were collecting for NES. I've tried to recollect for Genesis. So I've got back a lot of the titles that meant something to me. Like I wanted a Streets of Rage in box with. Yeah. Because that game meant something to me, but I'm definitely not going down the path of I got to collect all my childhood games because I just think it would cost too much money.
I will tell you that when I was collecting the NES games, I only bought games that I actually remember playing, and I rented a lot of NES games. So as I'd go through them, I would rediscover. Oh man, Rygar, that's right, totally forgot about that game. Got to pick it up, and I got to over 100. And then I started buying some games I'd never played, and then the joy went away. So
by the way,
for me,
wasn't there a video somewhere of you like basically yelling at me while I'm playing Rygar? Like, when did we do that? Was that on this show?
The play you played it
Oh,
on
it was
Play Choice.
It was the Play Choice 10 one. Yeah, you're like, do this, do that. You were so bossy. You were like a backseat gamer. It was like, so you were so bossy.
No, I was just trying to show. I was trying to get you to the right place because there's a glitch I wanted to show you. But I think we're way over time. We said we were gonna limit. We're gonna do a 20-minute stream, and then we said maybe we can do 30. So. That's it, guys. And it was just a quick special edition. Wanted to talk about something cool. And we'll see you on, Ralph?
The next one.
All right. Take care, guys.
See you guys. All right. Bye-bye.